Hi folks, welcome to week 2. Today what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to do a little bit more manipulation with um, type. So we're going to create some pretend logos, and I have done some sketches. The first thing you really want to do with all your projects is create sketches. And so I'm going to put the sketches on my board here. So I am going to place an image. So I go from File to Place. And I keep all my files pretty organized, and it's a good habit to get into. So I keep my teaching files under teaching, and then under course, and then by week. So right here I have the sketch that I did for this project. And then I click to place it on the board. I'll zoom out. I have my page set at 10 by 10 inches. So this photo I took on my iPhone. And you might not need to photograph your image, but I wanted you to know how to do this because you might want to go and work over top of your drawing to trace it. So what I have is I'm going to use Read More as the thing I thought would be nice. And first I wrote out the word Read More right here. And I also created a list here of different things that I thought might give me some ideas. Books, eyes, news. I was thinking maybe a newspaper, gridded look like that. The look of glasses. And then I thought, all right, well, let's look at these letters. And I started to draw the R and the D, and they both have a round shape in them, and they're opposite each other. So I thought maybe that would do something. And then I put down the E and the A, and they do also have the round shape. So I put glasses around them. But then I thought if I stuck the R and the D next to that, it might be too many circles. And then I looked at more, and I thought of putting a book somewhere in there. And then I thought, wow, the letter M could look like a book. So then I wrote over here, Read More, and I put the M in the middle, and I realized, you know what? If I make this R lowercase, then that M is pretty much in the center of my composition and will really stand out. So that's what I decided I'm going to do. So now if I wanted to write over top of this, I could do that. I think in this case it's nice for reference, but I don't want to be right on top of that. So one of the things that we haven't really talked about yet is raster versus pixels. And so in my live demonstration, I'll talk about that, but I'm going to show you the pen tool, which is really a key aspect of what a raster vector file is. So I'm going to pick this pen tool, and I am going to put a point here. Okay, so there's my point. And this line is not actually a line. It sort of looks like a line, but it's not. What I'm going to do is put another point here. And then if I pull, I'm getting this curve, and then I have these two handles. So the two handles have the dark dots on either side, and the line actually has the white on either side. And then when I let it go, you'll notice that line is black, and I'm going to make another line, and I can keep pulling these curves. So I can click and create straight lines, or if I click and I pull, I make a curve. So again, I just click and I make a straight line, click, click. Or if I click and I have my finger on my mouse right now, I still have my finger on my mouse, and I pull, okay? That's what's creating, it's not these straight handles, but it's the curve that is going to be my line. And then when I have a shape that I want to go back and connect, notice how when I get close to here, my little pen has a little circle next to it. If I pull away, there's no circle. I get close and there's that little circle there. that means it's going to connect that shape. Okay, now this is kind of a crazy shape here, and it's got a white fill and a black outline. If I flip this, there's my fill and so there's my crazy shape. So I'm going to get rid of this for now, but the basic thing about a vector file is that you create a point and another point, and if I hold down the shift key, it makes a straight line. So these points, those points are a description. It's this point and this point and this point are all described in the program. And if I were to increase this by dragging it, the quality of that line is still very nice and clean. Now, if you have ever worked in Photoshop, even if you haven't worked in Photoshop, I'm sure you've seen photographs on the internet where they're all pixelated. You see little squares of color. So that is something that a photograph, it's not a vector file, it's just all those little pixels. And no matter how big you make it, it's not going to add any more information. Where this is just describing points and lines. So if I enlarge it, I can make something big enough to put on the side of a bus, or a logo to put on a billboard. And the quality of that line will still be the same, whether it's tiny, small on a pencil or giant on a billboard, because it's describing the points. Where if you took a photograph with your phone and then you blew it up and tried to put it on the side of a bus, it would have little pixels on it, okay? So that's the basic difference. So I am going to start by finding a typeface that I think will work for this. And I want something that's pretty simple and has nice, clean, straight lines. I want something that is a sans serif typeface, which means it doesn't have little feet on it. Okay, to get more typefaces, as a student, I do believe you have access to all the Adobe fonts. So I have my Creative Cloud over here. There's also a direct link up here, so you can select either one, whichever you have set up on your computer. Okay, so when you open up, you see the computer programs that you have installed, and here's all the other ones that as a student you may or may not be able to install. And then over in this line here, I have fonts, manage fonts right here. So I can click on that. And I was recently in this, so this is going to look a little different from your browser right here. So let me go to browse more fonts. This is probably what you'll see. No, sorry. Okay, let me go back to this. I'm going to go in here. Let me go to Okay, sorry for the disruption. I already had some fonts open, so I wanted to go back to the place where I didn't have any fonts open, so it would look fresh to you. So here I am in Adobe Creative Cloud. I am going to go to click on Manage Fonts. I am going to Browse Fonts, so I can hit Browse Fonts here or Browse here. It's showing me my active fonts. I don't have any. I'm going to Browse Fonts. Okay, so Adobe has tons of fonts that you can choose from, and if you click any one of these tags here, you'll get fonts that feel like that theme. Or you can just simply scroll through lots of fonts and just go to the next window. Okay, so some are quite illegible, some look like handwriting, some have this interesting chunky feel to them. If you wanted marker, you're going to get some ones that look like they were hand drawn. If you go to funky, you might get something that's got a lot of movement, might be hard to read. This is something that could be used for a logo because it's got a lot of personality where you wouldn't want to have a whole paragraph written in it. Cursive, we've got calligraphy. The difference between calligraphy, if you have never used a calligraphy pen, is the type gets thick and thin, where cursive is just handwritten, not with that calligraphy pen shape. Inkling looks like it's 2 lines, double line text. And comic is more that you'd use for comic strips. I'm going to look for something clean because, like I showed you before, I want to do that book and I want some nice clean lines that don't interfere with that book too much. So I'm thinking what also might be nice is to have some rounded letters too that will contrast the M a little bit more, because I do have a lot of rounded letters and that book would contrast more, where if I picked something like this, it's got a lot of lines, the book shape might not stand out as much. So this one looks like an interesting one here. So I can click to view the family. So what the family would be are all the different variations of that font. So you can see they get thicker as they go along. There's also this round on some of them. Now these are all rounded. So what round means is you can't see it as much here, but as you go down here, you can see the bottom of these T's, it has a curve to them. So that's what a rounded font would be. So all of these typefaces here are round. And I think that's not quite what I want. It might look nice enough for this regular face, but if I want a bold, I think it's not going to work so well. But so I'm going to pick the medium and I'm going to pick the regular, and I just click to activate those fonts. Okay. And now I am going to go back and look for some more fonts. Oh, and the other thing that you can see is it will give you, this is saying the Quick Brown Fox, so you can see a sentence. Here you can see numbers if you're doing specific numbers. You could see the alphabet in all caps. So these sentences are the default, and I think they're a nice way to look at it. Okay, so you can also hit activate all 8 fonts. I'm just activating those 2. Okay, and so then I am going to go back to where I was, and I'm going to look at some more fonts. This one down here caught my eye, so I'm going to view the family for this one as well. So this has a very thin font, which I'm going to activate that. I don't think I want to use a very thin font, but I think it might be a nice option if I want to make that book thicker. Here's the light version. Italic is oblique, can also mean it is slanted, and italic is the letters are drawn a little bit differently. I'm going to hit regular. I don't need italic for this, so I'm not clicking the italics. I probably don't want something this thick, but I'm going to click it just so I have it. So these fonts have been activated now. So I am going to go back to my Illustrator file. Okay, so now I'm going to use the text tool. And the video is going to shut down in a minute, so I'll revisit you in a moment with the text.